So yeah, about this outfit. I just don't see the point of taking it this far. Like I said, I actually kind of liked how she looked when she was robbing the jewelry store. There was no need to really mess with that too much. But like with everything else in this movie, they just had to totally run with it and take it way too far. Why cut it up anyway? Obviously it didn't restrict her movement at all, and there's no reason to think that she went all psycho on it like Selena did with hers. The only part of it that I think is kind of cool is how the little tears, holes, whatever, form stripes like the kind you'd see on a tiger. In fact, if they'd put that on a bodysuit, that could have worked. I'm just not really sure what they were trying to go for with this. I mean, if you want her in a skimpy outfit, fine. If you want her in a more quote-unquote conservative outfit, fine. Just pick one instead of going skimpy on top and totally covered from the waist down. It just looks kind of unbalanced to me. Oh, except her toes are uncovered. What? Yeah, that's a great idea. Run around in open-toed shoes inviting people to stomp on them. So yeah, Catwoman is reduced to wearing pants and a bra top. Which, by the way, looked really awkward in some of the publicity shots, like it didn't fit her right or she wasn't filling it properly. And I don't even know what's going on with this mask. She has short hair now, what's with all the extra room on top? It's like the costuming department was trying to pull a prank on Pedoff, but he ended up liking it instead, much to everyone's horror. Oh, and as for why Pedoff wanted her back completely exposed? He said that it was because it'd make her look more cat-like, because apparently you can see a cat's spine really well. Sorry, Luna. Pedoff says you're not cat-like enough. And I think that's what bugs me the most about this outfit. A cat kind of looks like this. A cat does not look like this unless you shave it up like a poodle. Anyway. Cue another bad CG fest as she slides around a lot. And lopes around on all fours, which looks pretty stupid. She tracks down one of her killers and... Oh god, camera, sit still for 2 seconds. I'm getting motion sickness over here. And follows him into a dance club.
What can I do for you?
White Russian. No ice, hold the vodka, hold the Kahlua.
Cream. Straight up.
It's funny because she's a cat. Okay, she's on the dance floor. Why? I thought she was tracking that guy. How is she gonna do that? Well, whatever. And she teleported a whip into her hand. Okay. Actually, she was supposed to have stolen it from one of the dancers, because apparently people bring bullwhips into dance clubs a lot. Not that you can tell, with there being a cut to a completely different angle every fraction of a second. So she gets the guy outside because luckily he was sitting right in front of a door. Cue barely coherent fight scene.
The other night you killed somebody. She was a nice girl. Why?
Okay, that looked painful.
I got your tongue.
I don't know. They told me to flush the pipe, so I flushed the pipe. She heard something she wasn't supposed to hear. I don't know.
And her dare.
He makes it sound like he didn't know he was killing anybody, but we just saw a flashback of him shooting a gun at her. So why does she let him go? She sneaks into the building where she was killed and finds the wonderful humanitarian who couldn't stand to make fainting women addicted to cosmetics ugly has been shot dead. Someone spots her and apparently she gets away. Yeah, that still looks silly.
You look amazing! Wow!
She visits Sally in the hospital. Guess she needed to be validated some more.
Check this out. Some crazy...
Finds out on the news that Sino has been framed for that guy's murder.
Will not keep Butylene off the shelves.
And finds out that Sally is addicted to that horrible product with an awkward name. I didn't mention this before, but see the name of this product? Back before the movie came out and I was just reading articles about it, I thought it was called Bowline. But it's actually Butylene. I mean, okay, it's the first syllable of beauty, but that word also spells bow. Who in the company greenlighted that name? No one would know how to pronounce it properly. Meanwhile, Tom makes the connection with the handwriting. Who didn't see that one coming? Because he kept the cup. Jeez, how smarmy can you get? I love this bit with a handwriting analyzer.
But this first one, the broad spacing of the letters, indicative of...
It's uncanny how certain people know so much about our main character just from being in a room with her for a couple minutes or looking at how she draws her S's.
Very self-confident, almost angry.
As if anger is a natural result of self-confidence.
So they're different people.
Very.
So Patience and Tom go out on their date to the carnival where the Ferris wheel gets stuck, and she rescues a kid who is about to fall out. Wow, who is running this thing? Earning her third round of applause from a crowd in this movie. Apparently none of them noticing how she zipped along the spokes like a gecko. Oh hey, here's a fun fact. That kid's mom, same actress who played Debbie in Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Just saying. That night she sneaks into her former boss's mansion. Did they really just use CG to show her walking? Where she's confronted by Laurel and...
You picked the wrong house.
If your husband ever comes home, tell him I know all about violin.
She tells her everything she knows about violin for some reason. Either she's being cocky, or they honestly thought the viewers forgot everything about it in the last 10 minutes or so since it was last mentioned.
Are you suggesting that my husband is a murderer?
I'm suggesting that you tell me where he is, so I'll ask him myself.
I suppose I should be shocked. Protest his innocence, but the truth is, that man's capable of anything.
Either way, yay, exposition. Laurel helps her by telling her where to find George and giving her her phone so she can find her later.
Take my phone.
Nothing bad can happen there, right?
Call the cops. You're not gonna believe this.
Sino confronts George.
Done. Oops. My bad.
Just keeping it real, dog.
Who else shows up to come after her but Tom? There are a couple of brief cute moments in this, but mostly it's just him doing the rough cop act and her going, ooh.
Hold it right there. Put your hands on your head.
Ooh. He holds his own against her pretty well, but she generally has the upper hand. Again, sorry, gotta point this out. The effect is just not the same as Batman vs. Catwoman. At least they were evenly matched, and it's kinda cool that neither knows who the other is. I just feel kinda sorry for Tom in this scene, with him being at such a disadvantage with not having her abilities and not knowing who she is. Yeah, this movie pretty much does nothing but empower the shit out of Sino. When your protagonist has an advantage over everyone else and is pretty much unstoppable, it gets old fast.
Show of hands. Who can see in the dark? I can.
It's all right. Don't be scared.
Great. You haven't got a clue, do you? I mean, we are of absolute ruin here, and your brilliant piece of advice to me is don't be scared.
No, my advice to you, George. Quit this.
You know, I actually kind of like these two, or I want to at least. I think in more capable hands, they could have been really fun characters.
Cell phone. For once, George, in your miserable life, be a man.
Okay, in a not-so-subtle way, imagine that. They're leading us to the idea that she's indestructible somehow. The fact that it would hurt his hand doesn't make any sense, though. I'll get to that when the movie does. So Patience and Tom go out to dinner, and here we go with the fish again, because an unfunny gag gets so much funnier the second time around.
So, tell me about this one that got away.
So they start talking about Sino.
You heard of her?
Oh yeah. Hot. Black leather. Whip.
Full of herself.
You like bad girls?
Only if they like me back.
That's a weird thing to tell someone on a, well, technically a second date, but still.
Bad isn't something that does it for me. What's it like to be an artist?
Well, I'm not really an artist. And now I don't really know what I am anymore.
You're special. And I like that about you.
Geez, he really is smarmy.
I hate the rain.
Of course. So this leads pretty much where you would expect it to. Okay, why is there a random claw laying in the middle of the floor? There's nothing to indicate that her costume is falling apart. And I know she didn't expect to have him there, but she did have her friend over earlier. You'd think she'd be a little more careful about leaving parts of her costume laying around if she's trying to protect her identity. So Tom takes off, and then she gets a call from Laurel.
You were right about Biolene's secrets. I can't believe it, but you were right. Biolene is toxic. I have proof. We can stop him, but we have to stop him together. George will be launching Biolene at a press conference tomorrow.
Meanwhile... You know what? I balked at this at first, but I looked it up, and apparently they can use lip prints to identify people. News to me. At least this movie got something right.
It was everything they...
Sino goes back to the Head Air mansion.
I was never more beautiful. Never more powerful. And then I turned 40. And they threw me...
Yeah, I think Laurel has replaced Ophelia as the exposition fairy at this point. Oh my god, Laurel betrayed Sino? Who saw that coming? I know I didn't.
The Clyde flesh thing was a little tricky. But I think I pulled it off.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Our heroine is not very bright.
Can I offer you something? Can of tuna, saucer of milk, smoking gun. Which, sweetheart, you just emptied into my husband's chest.
Oh, George! Help! Somebody help! It's Catwoman! She killed George!
That was awesome. I actually kind of like Sharon Stone in this.
Why is his head so big? Why is his head so big?
Of course, she gets away with little trouble and changes out of costume somewhere. Oh god, seriously? We're really doing an homage to Bruce Lee and/or Kill Bill now? Well, it's already doing a poor job at referencing one movie, may as well add one or two more into the mix. Anyway, she finds out that Tom is investigating the case that she was framed for, then comes home to find him there and he arrests her.
All of the evidence, every single piece, it points to you. There's nothing that shows me anything else.
Do you remember the first time you saw me?
Yeah,
What did you see?
a girl rescuing a cat.
No, you didn't. You saw a crazy person out on a ledge trying to jump. And all the evidence pointed to that, didn't it?
The rest of us saw an idiot nearly getting herself killed for no reason. Yeah, you're real trustworthy.
How can I? I don't know who you are.
I'm the same girl you were with last night.
Nice argument. Well, we did have sex that one time.
Hello, Midnight.
She's locked in a cell, but then Midnight reminds her that she's a cat because she somehow wasn't focusing on that for 2 seconds. Oh god, I know what's coming, and just thinking about it hurts my brain. So you know how you can hold a cat upside down and then release it and it'll flip over upright in midair and land on its feet in a moment of pure feline awesomeness? Have at it, movie, you know you're dying to. More bad CG. And totally unnecessary because she was already facing the ground when she jumped out the window. So why does she flip over in midair? Twice?
Are you okay?
A girl like me lands on her feet.
Wow, nice way to treat an innocent guy who shows concern for your safety after you jumped in front of his car and gave him a scare. It's okay, he's a man, he probably deserved it.
My husband dreamed of a world where every woman could be as beautiful as she wanted to be.
Well, so far Laurel has what she wanted. She's the owner and poster girl for the company, and it's continuing to promote Biolene. Tom shows up and asks to speak with her alone. Meanwhile, Sino tries to stop the delivery trucks using a single long chain. Actually, that was pretty clever. Go see no. So Tom tricks Laurel into confessing, but obviously she isn't going to let him get away with that. And...
How sweet. Thanks. Now I can kill you both.
Hold on, I gotta stop.
How is...
Well, there goes my jump shot. Listen, I want you to know I'm sorry. I should have trusted you all along.
No, you shouldn't have. She's a nut and a liar. Whether she was telling the truth about the murders or not, she still steals priceless artifacts and oh, screw it.
I can't believe I trusted you.
Me either. How stupid are you?
You're a fake.
The direct approach. I admire that in a man with a mask.
And what are you? A hero? A thief? A freak? If you don't have an identity, why keep it a secret?
Yeah, I gotta side with Laurel on this one. Kinda hypocritical to be someone who steals while wearing a mask, and then complain about someone else not being what they seem on the surface.
It was me you flushed down the pipes. I'm Patience Phillips. That's who's under there?
So the epic battle starts, and it begins okay, despite it just being Sino kicking ass over and over. Of course, Laurel cannot be hurt because...
Violin.
You stop using it, and your face disintegrates. And if you keep using it, skin like living marble.
Yeah, that's what every woman wants. Rock-hard skin. That's gonna come in really handy if, say, you need to get your appendix taken out. Speaking of which, tough skin is not going to protect you from internal injuries unless it really is rock hard, in which case you wouldn't be able to move unless you were built like an armadillo. Go, Laurel, go!
Nothing.
Yeah, I'm actually cheering for the villain. Well, an hour's worth of Sino plowing through all her opposition with hardly any resistance got pretty old. It's about time she met her match. Unfortunately, this is 10 minutes before the end of the movie. And frankly, Laurel doesn't even really know how to fight. She just can't be hurt, and she got lucky here. So it's still not a great fight. Well, so much for that. God forbid Sino actually show the tiniest bit of weakness for more than 2 seconds. Oh yeah, this is a fair fight. I know Laurel can't be hurt, but the way this is set up makes it still come across as really one-sided, and not in her favor. To Sino's credit, she does try to save Laurel at the last second, but Laurel sees her own reflection and goes, screw it.
Help me!
Tom tells Sino that he can cover up her identity. But after having saved the day, she decides to take off, leaving thank you notes for Tom and Ophelia. Cue more bad and unnecessary CG as she heads off into the moonset. By the way, one of the rumors going around during this movie's production was that it was going to end in such a way to heavily imply that she was on her way to Gotham City, and that Warner Brothers was probably going to shoehorn her into one of the Christopher Nolan movies. Just something to think about next time you get the urge to complain about Anne Hathaway's costume not having cat ears.
It's over!
So that was Sino. But is it really all that bad? Oh my god, yes! The characters are not really characters so much as walking archetypes. We have the good guy, this nice character who we're supposed to love and pity, rather than develop her naturally in such a way that she would be relatable. It pretty much just shoves down our throat how pathetic and put upon she is every second of this movie's first half. She doesn't really do much of anything on her own. Bad stuff just happens to her by chance, and karma decides to grant her special abilities to make up for it. And now she's completely empowered with no real obstacles. Really, she just goes from one form of boring and cliche to another. Actually, that sounds a bit familiar. Then there's the dashing love interest who is obnoxiously perfect. He is cute and he has a certain charm, but he's boring as hell and I got tired of him pretty quick. Then there's the cliche overbearing boss and his wife who... You know what? Laurel is a character who could have been handled a lot better, but she is the only character that I actually sympathize with. I definitely sympathize with her more than I do with Patience, and that's pretty bad. They're pretty, though. Seriously, these are very good-looking actors, and they wear really nice clothes that flatter them. Kudos to the wardrobe and makeup department, with one glaring exception, of course. And just about all of them are known for at least having the ability to pull off a really good performance. Halle Berry and Benjamin Bratt have pretty good on-screen chemistry, and there are times when I kind of like Sharon Stone and Lambert Wilson in this. I know I compared him to Christopher Walken in an unfavorable way, but I wasn't being totally serious. And he did kind of grow on me after a while in that fun, campy sort of way. Despite how stupid almost everything about this movie is, I think the actors could have at least made the characters likable with a competent director and a more solid script. As for Halle, I will admit, after seeing her play only quiet and reserved characters, I didn't think she would have the chops to play a character who is supposed to be confident and aggressive. But she does pull it off. The one thing that bothers me is that she has such a high-pitched little girl voice that it's hard to take her seriously. Of course, it's not her fault, but I might consider her a bad casting choice for that reason. Of course, her dialogue being terrible doesn't help either. This movie's very shallow in that way. It tries so hard to be visually impressive, to the point where clearly the director didn't know when to rein it in. It tends to come across like Michael Bay trying to copy Tim Burton and failing, and even Michael Bay shows more restraint than Pete off. That first shot of the Head Air building is pretty cool, but then he goes on to pretty much do the same thing 9 more times, averaging one of these shots every 9 to 10 minutes. Not to mention that the editor appears to be suffering from ADHD with how many cuts there are. Sometimes there will be 5 to 6 of them just while a character is standing there talking, and most of the fight scenes are barely comprehensible. Then there's just the excess of it all. All big-name actors, tons of CG, the many Egyptian Mao cats it probably took to play Midnight. In case you don't know, it tends to take like 10 cats to play one cat in a movie. And while they aren't as rare as Ophelia makes it sound, they are a rare breed, and if you were to buy one from a breeder, it could cost you up to $1,000. Halle had 4 stunt doubles, one of which was a guy, because apparently he was just that good at capoeira, which is supposed to be Sino's fighting style, not that you can tell with all those cuts. And Petoff has no clue how to use CG properly. The trick is to use as little as possible. Even Jurassic Park, a movie known for its great CG effects, actually used animatronics and suits and puppetry as much as possible, and definitely for close-ups. It's less expensive and it just looks better, but Petoff almost seems to do the opposite. Close-ups of Midnight are done with CG, where cats in the background appear to be real. Also, keep in mind that the 2 most difficult textures to produce realistically with CG are human skin and fur, yet they didn't take this into account when designing her costume. Her skin looks like plastic and close-ups of her face look like something out of a PS2 game. Just so much money and lavishness poured into this thing, and most of what it was spent on you don't even see or notice, or in the case of the CG it looks cheap and terrible. What a waste. And that's not even counting all the advertising and promotions that the WB tried to push on us. Statues, sticker books, multi-platform video game, special edition Barbie doll, Halloween costumes, and even a comic book of all things. Sick 'em, Linkara. Speaking of advertising, a lot of it looked terrible. I already mentioned a couple of the promo shots where it looked like her top didn't fit her properly. But in most of them, she looks like she's about to grab her ass. I don't know if someone kept telling Halle to do that or if she's just bad at posing. Also, most of them had bad composition, like this one, a horizontal pose on a vertical page with a lot of space at the bottom. And sometimes the title font looked like it said Catwoman. Watching all of this play out was definitely a weird and frustrating time. I just kept wondering how much worse it was gonna get. It felt like we were all in the Twilight Zone and we were the only ones who could see how bad all of this was looking. Warner Brothers and everyone involved just somehow seemed completely blind to it all. There were so many interviews coming out where they were confronted about the buzz on the internet, and they acted like they didn't know about it or accused all the naysayers of being comic book nerds who were too devoted to the original character to accept any change, or worse, racist. Denise Denovi just didn't get it and said something along the lines of, "They keep saying Catwoman is too sexy? How can Catwoman be too sexy?" Yeah, none of us ever said that. We said she looked like a stripper. Not the same thing, though I shouldn't expect anyone involved with this movie to know the difference. Of course, the movie ended up bombing horribly, didn't make back its budget, was pretty much universally panned by critics, and now has a 10% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and is considered one of the worst, if not the worst, comic book adaptations ever made. All of which restored my faith in humanity a little. After the movie came out, Pitoff was quoted as saying something about how people just didn't get his movie and seemed rather bitter about it. Yeah, stay classy, Pitoff. By the way, what is it with French directors ruining things I love? But Hallie took a much more entertaining approach. She actually accepted her Razzie Award in person, which I think was a first.
First of all, I want to thank Warner Brothers. Thank you for putting me in a piece of shit, god-awful movie. You know, it was just what my career needed, you know? I want to thank the writers, all 20 of them. I also want to thank our director, Pitoff. I mean, I didn't know what the hell he was saying, but I'm sure it showed in my performance. And in all seriousness, okay, I've had enough fun joking. I want to really tell you why I'm here tonight. Because when I was a kid, my mother told me that if you could not be a good loser, then there's no way you could be a good winner. Started off in beauty pageants, and I won the first 3 in a row. Just won them. I got to the Miss USA pageant, and there I was on the stage with the first runner-up. Sure enough, they called the winner. It wasn't me, it was her. I looked at her, and all I could hear was my mother's voice in my head, and I thought, okay, here's my chance. But all I wanted to do was fucking slap the shit out of her. So, as you can imagine, I want to fucking slap the shit out of these Razzie people that brought me here tonight. But I won't do that. I'll do what my mother taught me, and I'll stand here graciously. I'll take the criticism, take it as a lesson learned, and I hope to God I never see these people ever again.
I think she just redeemed herself. Now, I know people tend to enjoy these sorts of bad movies in a so bad it's fun kind of way, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm above that, but this one just doesn't have that effect on me. For me, it's more a mix of boring and frustrating. I think a big part of that is that I know how much money went into it. Bad low-budget movies can have a certain charm, but this, even taking inflation into account, it was more expensive to make than Jurassic Park. Think about that for a second. Maybe I just know too much about it to be able to appreciate it in any way. Well, that and it shits on one of my favorite movies. Well, that's it for now, and oh god, it felt so good to finally get all that off my chest. See you next time.
Smelly cat, it's not your fault. Oh no. May not be your bed of roses, and you're no friend to those with noses. I promise you before we're done, all the world will smell as well.
What a perfect idea.
You moron.